For a 15-year-old, when you through those years of being 16 and 17, and then once you hit 18, then you don't have to. They don't have to deal with the labor laws. Then it's, you know, if you survive that, you're okay. But a lot of actors don't survive it. They end up going to college or going off and getting married, and they find something else to do. You know, the business isn't for everybody. I know a lot of people who have done. I have a good friend of mine. Isn't it? You, some of you might know him. He was in RoboCop 2. He was the kid. He was Gabriel David, good-looking little kid. He was in a movie called Newsies. And he had a really successful childhood career. He was on a couple of television shows. I mean, we've talked. It's slightly different eras, but he made a lot more money than me as a child. And he was fortunate enough, like myself, I mean, his dad invested in him. But, you know, he turned 18 and he did a couple of bad pictures. Had a couple of bad experiences and just decided it wasn't worth it. And he's now a real estate agent up in Atascadero, California. He's not particularly successful, but he's a smart guy, and he's not going to be a failure. But he didn't go up there to Atascadero. He's not, you know, the real estate agent of movie stars or anything. He's just a guy with a job, you know, which is what I am. I mean, this is a little unique. I mean, the fact that because of my job, I get to come and talk to the people who are basically on my accounts. And that's what it really is. You guys help me earn my living, and I appreciate that. You know, and you know, the fact that I get to circle back and talk to you guys is a unique thing about my career. But otherwise, it's just a job. You know, the fame and everything. Listen. You know, fame is great, but what about going 6 months without a phone call of any sniff of work? That puts you in your place. You'd be surprised how anxiety-ridden and how tough it can be sometimes. You know, it's great when they're shining the spotlight on you, and you're walking down the red carpet, or you're walking in front of one of those, you know, paparazzi things and stuff. That's great. But what about the time where it's been 4 or 5 weeks and, you know, I've had a total amount of, you know, $40 of residual checks come into my checking account, and I've got to call my bank and say, hey, we got to move money from this one account to our living account because I haven't made a nickel. You know, so that plays on you too. I mean, listen, it's not for everybody. Hey, for any of the new people, hey, I'm sorry this got turned around and I had to come in early. I'm going to Houston to work. I know you guys have now heard this for the third time, but there's a few people that have moved into the back there. So I've got to go to Houston to support this movie called Sparks. It's actually now available on DVD in the retail chains, Walmart, and you can get it on Amazon. It's available. I think DirecTV is going to have it available pay-per-view. So it's actually, and it's getting a small theatrical release. Independent theater chains are picking it up. It's called Sparks, and I'm going to go down to Houston tonight. In fact, I'm going to do 2 Q&As in the same day in 2 different states. That's the first for me. But I normally don't. I'm not like a traveling Q&A guy. That would be an interesting thing to try to like do. How many Q&As could you do? How many states? You know, you could probably do 7 or 8 states in a day of Q&As. There's always some idiot trying to do something like play golf and, you know, on every continent of the world in the same day or something. But anyway, so I'm going to have to shove off a little early. I know it was originally scheduled. I guess it was originally scheduled for this afternoon.
Originally at noon.
Yeah, well, no, it was originally later than that, and then I told them before, I said, it can't be, I'm gone, and they even kind of screwed that up. It was 11 o'clock from the get-go, so, you know, I appreciate it. So, any questions? Listen, I can sit up here and ramble all day. Yeah.
Can you talk about your experience on 2 movies, one, Evil Speak, way back when, and then 6. 2 of my favorites.
Evil Speak was a coming-of-age movie for me personally. It was one of the first jobs where I worked on my own without my dad. I mean, listen, we didn't have guardians. My brother and I didn't, every day of our lives as children, one of our parents was with us. I mean, there was a time when I was working on Gentle Ben, and my dad was with me down in Florida, and Mom stayed home and was with Ron when he did the Andy Griffith Show. They always felt it was important, you know, I mean, as a parent, to put, you know, you're putting your child in an adult world. You don't just hand them off to somebody who's getting paid, you know, $8 an hour to watch him. So anyway, Evil Speak was actually the second film that I sort of did on my own. And I lost my virginity on Evil Speak. And it was the first time that, you know, that there was a dad there. And because of the part and the circumstance of Evil Speak, Eric Weston was a relatively young director, and there was a young cinematographer named Irv Goodenough. And they were sort of, you got to understand, the DP and the director are right there in like a foxhole trying to get the thing manufactured. So they had a little team, along with the assistant director, but creatively, Eric and Irv were kind of, you know, the ones responsible for Evil Speak, and they brought me into that circle. And they allowed me to help contribute to the movie. And it made me feel good, and it, you know, it was like, here I am growing up. That was a, you know, a solid memory, long hours. The day in the church when the church burned down. First of all, the inside of the church of Evil Speak was really, it was the carcass of an old church in East Los Angeles that was being torn down because this freeway was being built. They were cutting a path through South Los Angeles, and it was going to hook up to the airport. And so a lot of houses were getting torn down, and this church was getting torn down. It was an old church. Anyway, the company came in and said, hey, before you tear it down, can we fix it up and shoot it and then burn it down? And they said, fine. And okay, they had really made this church look beautiful on the inside. It still looked terrible on the outside, but on the inside it looked like a church. I mean, it was beautiful. And the old pastor, or minister, came in, the old black guy, came in and saw how, I mean, he's a very elderly guy. He saw how the church had been renovated. And he dropped to his knees and he thanked God that his church had been saved. Nobody had the heart to tell this old dinosaur that just in a couple of days we were going to burn this building to the ground. He just saw how nice the church looked. But the day that we really did the burning of the church down, I think I worked close to 24 straight hours. It was a long day. I was up on those wires and we were scrambling around. I mean, it was a limited budget. I mean, it was a movie, but still, we only, you know, we had to do all that stuff in one day, and it was race for, I think they shot 26 hours in a row. So that happened. So that was like Evil Speak, you know. And Ticks, did you mention, is that what Ticks? You know, I worked on this little movie called Ticks. It's not the mammary gland, it's the insect ticks. And you know, so I'm prominent in the movie. And the truth is, I auditioned for that movie to play another part, and I didn't get it. And the movie got shot without that character of mine in the movie, without the weed grower who throws the steroids in the you know, pot plants and makes terrible pot plants, and the ticks eat the pot plants and eat the steroids, and they, you know, all hell breaks loose. I'm infested. That they hadn't invented that. They had shot that movie without that element. And after the movie was over, the director realized they needed something a little more, that had a little more bang to its buck. So, you know, they circled back to me and they said, hey, would you like to work in this movie? You know, my ego goes away real quick when somebody offers me a job. So anyway, I worked on it, and it happened to be cold. I mean, you guys deal with real cold temperatures, but on the set of Ticks, that day, we were shooting at a barn. It's sort of, it still exists. It's on like parkland. It's out in Malibu. And you know, at times it can get kind of nippy out in California, and it drops below freezing. And these couple of days that we shot on Ticks, we were shooting all night. And it was probably about 28 degrees. So it was kind of, you know, they weren't prepared for it. You know, I was saved because I had all the plastic on my face. You know, most of the time. So anyway, it was, but just, you know, God, I've done a lot of things.
What part did you audition to play?
Weren't there a couple of hillbillies in the picture? I was going to be one like the little hillbilly. And they ended up hiring that other guy to be the little hillbilly. You know, I get those parts. Why would you think I could play a little hillbilly? So anyway, that's my experience. Any other questions? And guys, hey, thanks for trickling in. I'm sorry that it's not, you know, it didn't start at noon, but I have to go to the airport at like 11:45. Yes, sir.
You had a pretty prominent role in rock and roll high school. Can you give us some of your memories of working with Roger Corman?
Yeah, well, listen, okay, I've worked for Roger Corman. I don't think I ever saw him on the set, and I've only met him in passing once or twice. I mean, he considers me one of his stable of actors, but when he sets up to do a movie, he lets the directors and the filmmakers make the movie. I mean, you know, he's not giving them any money. It's not like it's, you know. But anyway, so working on Rock and Roll High School, that was right after Ron directed Grand Theft Auto. So Ron had joined the world of Roger Corman, and the one thing Roger told Ron was, if you do a good job for me, Ron, you'll never have to work for me again. Which was true. Ron only had to do one Corman movie. I've been in a bunch. But no, I became kind of a stable of actors for Corman. I mean, that was part of my young career. I did a lot of them. I mean, from Carnosaur to Humanoids from the Deep to Eat My Dust was the first one. Because Ron had to do Eat My Dust to do Grand Theft Auto that he could direct. I mean, Roger would let him direct if he would sign a 2-picture deal so he can act in 2 movies. I mean, shrewd, you know, I mean, Roger was a shrewd businessman. So Alan Arkish, the guy who shot Second Unit on Grand Theft Auto, his dream was to make Rock and Roll High School. So, you know, he saw that I was just right to play Eagle Hour. And he called me and said, hey, I'm doing a movie about rock and roll. And at the time, they weren't sure what band it was going to be. They were talking about a couple of different options, including Cheap Trick, which at the time, Cheap Trick was just breaking. I happen to be a huge Cheap Trick fan, and you know, still to this day. But at the time, and Cheap Trick wanted money. The Ramones were willing to do all of their work and provide all of their services in Rock and Roll High School. Live performances, performances on the album, you know, acting in the movie, all for $20,000, all 4 of them. It ain't a lot of money. I mean, Cheap Trick just couldn't do it. But Roger, you know, if he decides that's all he's going to pay, then you hire a band like the Ramones, which it worked out fine. The Ramones gave that movie a great, interesting twist. I mean, who knows what would happen. The fact is the Ramones got the job, and they added what they added to Rock and Roll High School. But you know, we shot fast, and it was a blast. And you know, Vince Van Patten and I were hanging out because we'd kind of known each other over the years. And you know, that scene in the van, you know, that wasn't tea in that Jack Daniels bottle. You know, this is back in the day in show business where, you know, it was a little more like a party on the set. After Twilight Zone, that changed. You'd be surprised how clean movie sets are. I mean, listen, the studios are investing so much money and they have so much liability. I mean, they did with what happened on Twilight Zone. So, you know, that it used to be a lot looser, and Rock and Roll High School was one of those times where, you know, put it this way, in the makeup department, there was always this move that I saw actors do it. Let me just put it that way. Where the last thing you checked when you got out of makeup was this. All clear? But anyway, that times have changed in the business. But Rock and Roll High School was sort of, and listen, it was a party. You know, one day we shot backstage at the Whiskey, and then the day the Ramones did the performance, it was at the Roxy. And you know, the fact is not that we had huge access or anything, but we were there. I'd never been backstage at the Roxy. I mean, it's really shitty. You know, it stinks and stuff, but you're there when you're, especially when you're a kid. I mean, now I'd probably complain because the stairs are really funky. But no, I had a great time. And, you know, meeting the Ramones, although I didn't really meet Joey. I mean, Joey was always kind of distant. I sort of became friends with John. And, you know, he did a spot for me on the Clint Howard Variety Show, which people can see on YouTube if you fish around, if you care to. They're kind of funky. Old original internet shows. Before anybody really had the computers to do internet, you know, watching. So, anyway, John came and did the Clint Howard Variety Show, and he played along. So did Adam Sandler. He came and did it. Each episode had a celebrity guest. And it was all cheesy because the interview only lasted about 50 seconds. I would start in on an interview, and then after the guy would give his second answer, I'd ask a question, he'd start to answer, and I'd interrupt him, and I'd say, I'm sorry, Johnny, that's all the time we have for this particular section of the Clint Howard Variety Show. I'm sorry. By the way, we give every celebrity guest $15 and a turkey. Turkey provided by Handy Market of Burbank, neighborhood grocer since 1969. And then this, my helper, my announcer, would come over with this wet bag that had this thawed-out turkey and give it to the celebrity and hand him 15 $1 bills. And it was interesting to see how all the different celebrities handled the turkey and the $15. Adam Sandler was the last interview we did. Adam's a mensch, man. He's a really good dude. And I asked him, this was soon after the Water Boy. And I asked him, I go, hey, I'm doing this little interview thing. Will you help me out? He said, sure, man. So he had foot surgery. He came and did the interview in this foot cast. But he was the last interview that I did, and we did him on these little tiny chairs, like beach chairs. It made everybody look really uncomfortable. And at the end of the interview, we did the thing with the $15 and the turkey. And the other interviews, the $15 $1 bills were only prompts. We would give the people $15, but we would say, hey, we need those are our prompts. Those 15 ones, that's our joke. I mean, you know, but here's $15, and they didn't want to take the money. I go, no, I'm serious. You can have the turkey too if you want. Nobody took me up on the turkey. Andy Dick wouldn't even touch it. Amazing that, is imagine all the things Andy Dick's touched. And he wouldn't touch my turkey, that's weird. But at the end, Adam was the last interview, and I gave him 15 ones, and you know, he hadn't had $1 bills in his hand in a long time. And then after we wrapped, he handed me back the money. I go, no, that's yours, keep it. And he goes, really? And I go, yeah. He goes, God, I got $15 in my pocket. This is cool. So anyway, if you guys get a chance to see that, it's kind of fun, you know. And hey, listen, another kind of crowd's trickling in. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to take off in a few minutes. I've got to go to Houston to support this film called Sparks that I'm doing, and it seems to be one of these little independents that's getting some traction. Sort of a little Frank Miller kind of movie. Reluctant superhero, film noir. There are a few people around here have seen it, including Greg, my helper, and he didn't know I was in it. He's one of these geeks that just rents these movies. And anyway, he saw it and he was very impressed. He's sort of a connoisseur. So anybody has a chance to see it, it's available. It's available at Walmart now, and I guess you can get it at Amazon. You can download it at iTunes. And they're having a screening of it at the Alamo Draft House in Houston, so. Look, welcome along.
You had a very extensive career. Have you ever thought about doing like a spoken words tour, just coming out and doing something like this with fans?
You know, I'd rather just do this every once in a while. You know, I don't have to do dinner theater. I don't have to do road shows. Eventually, I'm 54, I'll be 55 pretty soon. Eventually, I'll really sort of relax trying to work as an actor. And then at that point, I may become a professional celebrity. Something like that. I mean, my experiences are kind of interesting, but I just as soon chat with a group of people like this for a while and get up and go. I mean, doing one of those spoken word things or something, all of a sudden, you know, you're working again. You know, you're trying to retire, and the next thing you're, you know, Mike Tyson performing his one-man show. Yeah, I mean, I've thought about it, because if Mike Tyson can do it, just Jesus, anybody. Can you imagine? Does he talk about biting Evander Holyfield's ear off? He probably does, I don't know. I mean, you know, but he fills up arenas. You know, not arenas, he fills up theaters for his little one-man show. Anyway, time for a couple more questions. Yes, ma'am.
This is going to take you back a long time. Did you ever feel any danger working with that bear?
No. When I was working on Gentle Band, the first thing they did when they introduced me to the bear was they threw a piece of meat into his cage. He had sort of an enclosure. They threw a piece of meat in. He walked over, like all bears would do. He'd go over and sniff it, didn't want it. And then he threw in a box of donuts. Bear went over there, sucked those donuts down in about 5 seconds. I mean, a box of donuts. This bear ate prodigiously. I mean, it was amazing what this bear could eat. But so they taught me right away that this particular bear did not really look at you like a meal, the same way a cat, any of the wild cats were always dangerous, but the bear wasn't. So no danger. It was more of a pain in the ass. I mean, he was like this big, smelly prop you had to lug around. He rarely, you know, you couldn't go, come here, man, and he would come. No. You know, it wasn't like last. Yeah, I'd have to jerk on his chain. Anyway, let's see. Hold on. I promised these guys I would go to Houston. Oh, now I got it. Okay, time for a couple more. Yes.
You've done comedy, drama, horror, all kinds. Do you have a particular genre that you like to do over one or the other?
I personally like a good drama. I like the horror genre. Usually the conditions are kind of funky. It's fun. You know, working on small little independent movies are fun. They're fun for me as an actor, because when I'm working on a big studio movie or something that's prestigious, I tend to play things a little more conservatively. When I work in the independent world, it's almost like the minor leagues. You know, I'm a little more comfortable to throw better pitches, because I consider myself kind of like a relief pitcher. I'll come into a movie and pitch an inning, or maybe even just pitch to a couple of batters. Sometimes I get to start, but normally I'll just be that character actor that comes in and pitches an inning or two. But on an independent movie, I'm more willing to try the corners and you know, be a little trickier with my pitches. If it's a big studio movie with Sylvester Stallone or something, you know, I'll just, you know, throw fastballs and try to find the strike zone. Because I don't want to walk anybody on a big studio movie. A little indie, if I walk somebody, it's fine. I'm sorry, guys, one more. Does anybody have, that's another thing, burning desire. Yes?
What's your favorite part of working on the Wraith is?
The camaraderie of the gang. One of the few movies, The Wraith and Apollo 13, are two movies that I worked on where I remained friends with the people I worked with. And you'd be surprised, you know, at the end of a movie, everybody hugs and says they're going to hang out and be together, and we never see each other again. But on The Wraith, you know, Nick Cassavetes and Dave Sherrill and Jamie Bozian and Chris Nash and Sherilyn, we all sort of bonded. Well, Sherilyn not so much, because she was spending all her time with, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp went down to Tucson and hung out with us for a while, because he was Sherilyn's boyfriend. And anyway, guys, I wish I had more time, and I wish it hadn't gotten screwed up to where 3/4 of you didn't know what time it was, but now I'm running late, and I'm going to have to run to the airport. So, hey, thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm serious, man. I really appreciate it.
It's not sour.